sort of two angles to it, isn't there? Especially when it comes to content, I suppose. It's, you're using or utilizing AI to help generate that content, but then I guess you're not necessarily getting rewarded for that content, as the systems currently are set up. Yeah. So I think how do you see that evolving? How might we be able to reward content creators if it's not traffic currently? What would it be?
I think Cloudflare's approach, so some of those recent changes, is an interesting one. It's now happened, and I think it's the first of these big moves. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. I think that really works for creators and publishers, and whether or not all of these big tech companies who have these models are willing to pay, and how that plays out is really still yet to be seen. As I said, businesses are more than likely always going to be submitting their content for visibility because they want to be able to be shown in these recommendations. I mean, on the other side of this coin as well, I think when we're talking about like content and generation, that's probably where it's worth thinking around how, obviously all of the creative outputs that are possible currently have been trained on a lot of this information, which is now sort of behind these large LLM firewalls. So how is that going to sort of continue to evolve, and what role do marketers have in sort of curating the inputs and sort of training their own models to generate something that I guess is unique? Because the challenge with these models is that essentially it's leveling the playing field, really.
So in terms of how AI is going to evolve, the landscape outside of brands and agencies, but the impact that it will have to consumers. So obviously the example I often talk about is, in the future we'll probably be utilizing AI, agents in our personal lives, potentially doing our shopping for us. So it's going to become even trickier for marketers to understand how to, not only market towards individual user, human behavior, but now potentially a bot that is, tasked with doing their shopping for them. So how do we sort of navigate that? What do brands need to think about, and how do marketing strategies evolve to account for the fact that we're now in the future potentially marketing to robots with completely different human behavior?
I think there's still quite a few things that, as marketers, we can still actually have a lot of control of, and quite a lot of this is unwritten at the moment as well, so it's really a bit of a moving feast, particularly when it comes to the data that's going into these systems. We want these systems, as a consumer, you want these systems to work flawlessly, right, and with full, complete trust and reliability. Perhaps we're not quite there just yet, so as marketers and professionals in this space, we can really help shape how these systems work and how these experiences work. And there's still clearly quite a few jobs to be done there.
I guess the difficulty for brands at the moment is knowing when to invest and I guess what tools to fully invest into, given that the market and the landscape is changing so rapidly.
For every business, the timeline is going to be different, but absolutely everybody now could be experimenting with these tools and understanding what's right for them. Just now in the cloud, you can already play with image generation, copy generation, video generation, whole movie generation. I think testing and learning and exploring is probably the only way to answer that for every single business.
So where do we need to invest in terms of development, skill, people in the future to kind of get the best out of AI?
Jobs will change as a result of AI being brought into the workforce, particularly through more agentic operations. In every technological revolution to date, there's always been new jobs that come off the back of it. But an opportunity really is for businesses to consider, what does it look like after AI is already there, if it's not already? And how do we augment it, work with it, and sort of push the business forward through that?